Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, okay. I hope my connectivity. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah. I can hear you. I guess the guys usually tell us if they can't hear us, so I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
No,
All
that's
right, cool. I
good.
hope the
That's good.
connectivity let me down. Yes.
Is the connectivity, is it sometimes bad by you?
It is sometimes bad, but I'm hoping I have a stable connection and we'll be fine.
So what happens when you're judging like global awards and have to connect with New York and stuff, eh?
I'm in like a very residential neighborhood, and I guess not as many people are, doing their work from home thing here. So I have like
Ah,
very good connectivity usually, but today it's been weird.
how has it been working from home? I mean, are you getting used to it? How's your agency? How's your team working from home? How's everyone finding it?
Well, for me personally, it's been very difficult, and I haven't gotten used to it. I am in the rhythm because there's work to deliver, and I'm just getting on with it. But like, I'm an extrovert. I need people. I need outside. I need so it's like stressing me out to be like cooped up at home a little. Um, but everybody on the team's been getting on with it. Productivity wise, we're fine. It's just keeping the
Yeah,
morale up every day is very difficult because you're on so many calls, so many demands, and then at the same time, there's no like interpersonal energy to feed off of.
mm,
When you're like
mm,
working on pitches and you're all at the agency, you actually get less
mm,
tired versus when you're,
mm.
at home by yourself pushing. It can be very overwhelming. So, hello, everyone who's like logging on. But yeah,
Yeah, everyone is
we
just
just have to
joining
make do
frantically.
with what we have.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean
how
the
have you
first time
been?
you heard of COVID, I'm good. I'm good. We are incredibly busy. And our team, I must say, I find that we are more productive. I find that the
Hmm.
guys are more creative. The amount of
Oh wow.
good work has been good. And because, we're already used to the whole working on teams even before COVID.
Mm,
We've been taking it quite well. We've been connecting with the staff weekly. Some people not so much, but
mm.
overall, it's been good. So yeah, take us through your journey, man. Where I even haven't heard it. Where were you born? And then how? Let's start from there, right from the beginning.
Yo, wow. That's far. That's far
Ekaleni.
off. Okay, so I was born in Woodbank, in Malahleni. Um,
Okay.
and I think in Woodbank, a lot of I always talk about this. The main like career thing to do, which is like really exciting, is engineering because it is a mining town.
Oh yes,
So,
yes.
I grew up wanting to be like an engineer or at least, maybe a doctor or something like that because I
Yeah,
saw like, okay, those people are living the good life, when I look
yeah,
around me.
yeah.
I'd never heard of advertising or anything, but I've always been like, um, someone says, well, oh, wow, you actually, you're a country girl. I am a country girl.
Yeah.
Country girls worldwide. But but anyway, I found advertising just by chance, I guess. I went to high school in Pretoria. I went to an art school called Pro Arte, and I think that's kind of
Okay.
what brought me closer to the creative world. Because before that, I completely had like very little concept of it, and through that like journey in that school, I decided, look, there's something that I enjoy about creativity. How can I make this work with something
Yeah,
that has to do with commerce or business or something? And then someone suggested advertising as like a good combination. And then I looked at it, I tried
yeah.
it out, went to Vega through a scholarship. I wonder if it still exists. The MAP CETA, which is
Okay.
our
Yeah,
industry
yeah,
CETA.
yeah. I
Hey,
remember
Zibo, my
that.
fellow Poppy. That's cool. The MAP CETA used to run a scholarship, and they would like take kids like me who wouldn't otherwise be able
Okay.
to study advertising at the exorbitant fees
Yeah,
to
yeah,
advertising
yeah.
schools. So
Because it is quite
yeah,
expensive, schooling and advertising, right?
it's incredibly expensive.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the fees are now, but they were like 50,000 rands a year
back then, yeah,
when I was in
yeah,
school. And like, I have no concept of like how my parents would have been able to do that. But
yeah,
I felt it would have been unfair even, because
yeah,
the alternative is like going to normal university and paying like 15,000, 18,000 a year for a
yeah,
degree that they viewed as more illustrious, which is like a
yeah,
BSc
yeah,
or something is much
yeah,
cheaper. So to
yeah.
like black parents,
Something
it just doesn't make
with a
sense.
proper name. I
Yeah.
remember UCT when I went to UCT. When I moved from UCT to Red and Yellow, Red and Yellow was like
Yeah.
3 times the amount of UCT, and it wasn't even like a known degree, And the school was called Red and Yellow, and it was creativity. So you're right. The
Yeah.
cost thing becomes a big thing. But
It's
how did
weird.
your parents understand creativity? I
I
mean,
mean,
how did you explain that?
I think they were like really like savvy people who understood like
Yeah.
various industries. Although they didn't get advertising, they understood creativity, and then they understood me to
Okay.
be a creative child. So at least it
Okay.
like, made sense to them. And then my mom came to Vega with me, I remember, and she was just like looking around. There was that trend of exposed ceilings. Do you remember that whole
Oh,
thing in
oh yes,
architecture where
yes, yes.
they would have pipes, exposed pipes? And that's
Oh
how
yeah.
Vega was. And my mom was like, the building is not even finished. Like, you want to go to school in this place? Why is it so expensive?
Ceiling.
So, yeah, I just remember that comment. She was like, this
Yeah,
place, like, what is this? But
yeah,
anyway, they just let me do what I said I wanted to do. And fortunately, it worked out. And then obviously, once you're in Vega, you start making your way through the internships. And I think it's funny because um well, it's strange because in a way it's so hard to get into advertising, but if you get in
yeah,
through the right funnel, it's just like you get shepherded right in, which I think is a thing that we as agencies need to open up, because if you're in Vega or
yeah.
Triple A, you will find your way into an agency, or Red
Mm,
and Yellow or any
mm,
other creative school, whereas if you're at
mm,
Tags or somewhere else, it's so difficult to actually find your way into the industry. So
mm.
I was fortunate enough to be connected by Vega to my first internship. VWV took me on as like kind of a part-time, student, part-time little creative
Okay.
intern,
And
and
is
I
your
worked
core
there.
skill, was it Nkgabi, your core skill, was it writing or design? Are you on the writing or the designing side?
Design. No, no. So I
Design.
studied
Okay.
what they then called visual communications. So it's
Okay.
like a combination of design and art direction
All right.
together, which was really cool. Some people have jokes in these comments section. Who is your favorite copywriter and essay, and why is it Nkgabiseng?
Another, this is like, is that Kajezi, creative Kajezi, from
Yeah,
King
it is.
James?
Of course it is.
Hi, Kajezi. I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, I studied that visual direction, and I went to work at VWV during the World Cup, which was really nice.
Okay.
Um, and we did the opening and closing ceremony, and we did like the graphics on screen, and we got like
Wow.
passes into the stadium. As an intern, I was like living a dream, honestly,
Yeah.
dream first
Yeah.
internship. And then thereafter I
Wow.
went to Ogilvy, and I spent a little time at Hunter Scaris as well. And then I think I was at that point
Yeah.
I was working in advertising. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And around you at this time, how many black females are on the come up with you? Who are you rolling with? Like, what is your generation of creatives in that time?
Yeah, so
When you look
interesting.
back, that's what, like, now 10 years ago now.
It's about 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's exactly 10 years ago, actually. I think what I noticed very quickly in while I was at Vega is that the black women were like tapering off per year. So
Yeah.
first year there was quite a lot of us. Second year fewer. Third year you were like one of three. And then all the way to graduation, still few people left. And then by the time you get into internships, you find yourself being the only Black creative team, or the only Black women. Fortunately for myself, from the beginning, I was already working with Mukondi, who's now my business partner. And we would always just be the only ones. At that time, it just became like something about the system from college phase was kind of deterring Black women. And I must be honest, I did feel those deterrents myself. So the expense of, for instance, a simple thing like handing in an assignment. It could cost you anywhere from 400 to 1,000 rands in printing, binding, taxi up and down to these facilities to get that done. Staying at school until all hours because you don't have your own personal laptop and it's unsafe for you to leave the school.
And you didn't get that 21st Mini Cooper, right? Because I found that at Red and Yellow, everyone got a Mini Cooper for their 21st birthday, so they could work late, they could work in groups, and be like, no, guys, we're going to just stay until 9, and you're thinking, what's going to happen to me?
And at Vega was even worse. I remember there was a girl, I hope this is not exposing her. She drove a Porsche.
Just call her X.
Yeah. She drove a Porsche 911 and the plates were "Thanks, Dad."
Wow. Yeah. I guess that's
trying to piece taxi money together.
Yeah. And I guess that is the big barrier. A lot of people, when they want to get into the industry, and I mean, I saw it, and I've dedicated a lot of my time in trying to change that. I sit on the board as advisory chair of Red and Yellow, and I always believed, besides the talent, it's access for the Black creative child
100%.
to get that portfolio out, to get that fancy print, and to actually participate. There was an interesting question here. So, we know the problems with schooling. I'm personally trying to fight them through Red and Yellow, and I think we're really making headway there with the IAB front row and all that stuff to break these barriers. Now, a question came earlier in terms of the access, saying, if you had to design your own school, what would that look like? And what would, what would you put in there, especially to make more young Black females stay in? I love that question. What would your school look like?
Wow. I mean, I've never thought about this before, and I'd probably need hours dreaming about this because it would be an amazing brief to get.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that I would do is I would try and flatten out the playing field through making most things digital. Because if I do that, then I think I give everyone a sort of fair chance. So if we're giving briefs, how can we make them friendlier to submission via mobile? If we're if we're expecting people to be on premise, how can we make it such that people can access it by taxi and be able to leave the school while taxis are still available? I think another thing that I would do is, in terms of the people that moderate assignments and our lecturers, I would really strive for diversity in that space, because what I found growing up, certainly in Vega, was that you would present assignments and they just would not be understood. So now maybe the insight level is being removed, and that's like 10% of your grade because somebody doesn't understand the merit of something that you're saying. So definitely diverse moderation and lecturers, so that you can see yourself in the people that are standing before you in these classrooms. But also when you say, I grew up with these electricity boxes being called the danger box, it doesn't fall on deaf ears, And if your whole concept is built around the cleverness around that word, it's not misunderstood, and then you're getting low marks because the people that are moderating just don't understand what you're saying. So
Yeah.
I think those would be the first three things I would look at, definitely. But such an
But
interesting question, yeah.
that type of thing kind of carries you on into the industry, you know. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know whether you've met another black female CCO. You're the only black CCO that I know.
yeah,
I'm one of the few black
yeah.
CCOs that I know, and and I think that's something that carries you to the industry where you are reviewing work with people that don't have the insight, you know, and that becomes a very big thing. You know,
Painful.
you come with a concept and it's brilliant, but it's you can't translate it. And I think a lot of
Mm,
people get frustrated with that. Would you
mm.
say you experienced that when you were working for like maybe the global agencies? And how would you advise someone in that situation with all these brilliant ideas? You know, whenever people come to Avatar, they're like, sure, at least now all these ideas in my notebook. Now I can find a home for them. What would you advise
Amazing.
someone maybe in an agency right now that is going through that to say, you know, I've got all these ideas, but I'm always being pulled back to maybe a more Eurocentric way of delivering these ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
how did you deal with it, and what would your advice be on that?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it definitely was difficult, and you would just, I found that we would just give up and get angry and talk amongst ourselves and be disgruntled. But the one thing that it ended up teaching us is the skill of bringing people along on your journey of unpacking an idea. So
Yeah,
I think we came out of those global agencies where we are misunderstood, um, as people who are able to really unpack a creative idea to anyone, like
yeah,
absolutely anyone. And I think being able to judge the strength of an idea by how simply you can convey it to the next person who doesn't share your context, who doesn't share your background, also is a note on the validity of the idea itself. So
mm,
what I definitely learned, and I feel like I came away with it, is the ability to go, can I bring you into my world for a second? Picture this.
yeah,
Follow me on this story. Feel that emotion with me. And once I've brought you into my world for that moment, I can then tell you my idea. And then you feel
mm,
like, wow, I've learned so much through just the explanation of this idea. I didn't know that the wall was called the Stop Nonsense. I didn't
yeah,
know that there was this like this culture of speaking over each other's fences and talking to one another freely. I didn't know all of these things, and now your idea lands on fertile soil, and I
yeah.
feel carried along. Now, I'm not making
Wow.
excuses for the fact that it is annoying and like incredibly frustrating for a young black person to have to always carry the load of teaching while you're like creating.
Yeah.
That is a fact of lack of diversity, and it should be fixed. But it did leave me being a stronger articulator of my own ideas.
Oh wow. No, that's so you had to fight for those ideas and really so you either give up and you conform to a very different way of working or
Mm.
you explain it in a way that is understood.
100%. And the thing that inspired me is watching um, the Cannes reel of winning advertising and
Yeah.
seeing the work from South America. I don't live in South America. I don't come from
Mm,
there. I understand when they tell me in Brazil, this is our thing. When we say this word, this is what we mean. On this day of the week, this is how we celebrate. Now that you have the insight, here is our idea. And then I have
mm,
goosebumps from seeing that work from India, South America, Korea, all around the world where I don't share their context at all. But the way that they unpack the problem, the insight, and the solution is really neat. And I think that skill from watching those case videos
yeah.
is a very, very integral skill to have as a creative person because then you're able to, at any point, take the work that we make as Avatar, as Think, and have it resonate on a global scale, because not everyone will be from South Africa, from the township
Yeah.
that you're from. But if you can
Yeah.
explain something to them about the background, the context, and then the idea, it becomes so much more powerful than a Eurocentric idea, for example.
Mm, and we are 25 years into our democracy. We are the majority consumer in this nation, and I always urge people not to get tired talking about
Yeah,
transformation. And
yeah.
I always urge people not to point out a few agencies. Oh no, Odd Number is there, or Avatar is there, or Sylvester DNA is there. In a majority nation, surely the majority of agencies should be black owned, run, and what is stopping transformation? Why is it so slow? And I always fear when people are saying we're tired of talking about it, because I'm like, no,
Yeah.
we should
You
talk
can't get
about it
tired.
even more, because it's not happening. So what is stopping transformation? Why are we still here 25 years in?
You know what? I think it's a combination of things that are not by our own design. But the genius of oppressing a group of people runs very deep, right? It does a very,
Yeah,
very sound job. So, from a mentality perspective, we have to unlearn a lot about ourselves.
yeah.
Just believing that we have good ideas, that can take 10 years.
Mm,
Most of us believing that we truly have good ideas can take 10 years, 20 years. Um,
mm,
and then outside of that, while we're still trying to come around to the fact that we have our own genius, we have our own talent, we can trust Black businesses. I can buy from the next Black entrepreneur. I will not be
mm,
disappointed by Black businesses. While we're still coming around to that fact, the system is working every single day to engineer new ways to ensure that we don't break that ceiling. And when I say the
mm,
system, I'm talking about um, the few people in the country who have the wealth. They don't just want to share. It's not like a nice financial picnic where we're all invited. No,
yeah.
they find new ways. They hire people, they hire lawyers, they hire management consultants. Sometimes I sit
Mm,
around a table with friends who are not in my field of work, and I hear the kind of briefs that they get from companies around transformation, and all of them
mm.
are dodging transforming. They all
Wow.
dodging. It's like, I would rather hire a 3 million rand team from X law firm to come and help
Mm,
me avoid having meaningful transformation in my company legally
wow.
than actually institute meaningful transformation in my company for free.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's like there are a few things, like, I think, at play. And the more I get into various like rooms, and when we're pitching on business, I see who the exco is, it starts to make sense. Like, oh, okay, we still have a long way to go. And a lot of the places
Mm,
that we have to go, we are unwanted. So
mm,
you're right. We have to not tire talking about transformation. We have to stay the course. And we have to be frank about how unwanted we are in these spaces, because then we
mm,
can also engineer an appropriate response.
mm,
But I feel very passionately that the thing that we need to do in tandem while we figure out how to get into these boardrooms and sit in these tables is start our own economic rehabilitation program.
okay.
Figure out how to make each other understand the challenges of doing business when you're a Black person and you're young and you're in South Africa, and
Mm,
help each other get better at business. Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, I want to support Black businesses, but you always get subpar, or I
wow.
want to do it, but I'm not sure. or but Baruna, they'll let you down. Those are the kind of things that we are saying ourselves.
Wow.
So we need to be able to, like, while we're doing like the lobbying and the getting into the rooms and the getting into the pitch lists, we need to also be rehabilitating that a good agency is good enough, even if it's black, right? An agency doesn't have to charge you less because it's black owned and run. The product speaks for itself. Like that, for me, I don't know why we're avoiding it. And some truth that I've had to ingest is that some of our businesses are not where they need to be. But let's review one another's services. Let's be honest. When I'm finished, I had an interaction with a dress designer recently, and I was unsatisfied. And part of me wanted to go, I'm never shopping from them again. But I'm like, if I don't shop from them again, who's going to shop from them? So let me rather write her a really emotional email and say, you know what, I'm unsatisfied. And next time when I come with my money, it's not a little bit of money. For me, if I'm buying a garment anyway, for more than 1,000 rand, I feel like I'm investing a lot of money.
Right?
And I want to be satisfied with the product. So can I just be a nuisance to you? Can you just fix
to make you better
for me? I promise you, I'll be back to buy from you again. Now that conversation is difficult to have because we at the same time want to flex on one another, as black people in business. And you just have to humble yourself and be like, you know what, I'm going to go back and buy from this business. I'm going to go back and hire their services, but I'm going to make it known what was missing for me. Or when you do have an amazing experience, and I have tons of amazing experiences with black businesses, whether it's services, products, etc., review them. Also say, I cannot live without the face cream from Suki Naturals. It is a real life changer, Speak out about it as well. Speak out about the positive experience so we can start to change the narrative, but keep the money circulating in our
rotating. Don't perpetuate that. You'd rather pull a brother aside and say, hey, this is what we need to fix. But I guess it's the intention to build one another. And I think that's the point of departure.
100%.
Instead of going 100%. Out and saying, oh, that they don't know how to make dresses, you say, no, I'm going to come back and complain, but I'm still going to be your customer. I think that's really
from you again.
Nyabuya. Let's fix this and I'll come back again. I like that. So I guess it's also the readiness of agencies that have black ownership. We also need to look at, before we look out, we also need to kind of look into ourselves. Now tell me, it's something that I've always asked people, is there racism in this industry?
Really? It's so funny, of course. I'm laughing because I think it's like very glaringly obvious. I think there is a lot of racism. And I think it plays itself out in so many ways. So you have like a continuum of it. And when we say racism, I think the image that comes to mind is the end of the continuum. Now, I don't doubt that the end of the continuum is there, where people are being called the K word on emails. Fine, that's there. But we are also talking about the entire spectrum of racism. So at the bottom of the spectrum is the kind of comments that we make in boardrooms about black people that will stifle their growth. And I'm talking from the perspective of a privileged group. So you're a white male ECD. If you say you're not sure about Nkgabi, it's enough. Hey? It's enough. No one is going to ask you why you're not sure about her. What's wrong with her? It's enough. You've stifled her career for about 2 years. She now has to prove to the next person who heard your review, because you are super credible, why she is so good. Right?
Wow.
So there's that, there's a whole world of it. Like there's exclusion from certain things. So when I arrived in the industry, it was completely normal for the ECD to invite people to their place, to their house,
Okay.
where they know that you will be out of place, you will feel uncomfortable because of the power distance issues that are there.
Yeah.
So if you grow up as a Black person, you have a very high power distance culture. So abantu abadala and that kind of like elder respect will
Yeah.
be a barrier from actually enjoying your experience with an older colleague. And then there's also the power distance issue that comes with a white person and a Black person. So I will definitely not feel comfortable because you are white and I'm Black and I'm in your space and I feel too small to be in your space. So there was that issue. Either I'm invited and I'm uncomfortable the whole time and I'm just laughing along and like, I'm maybe agreeing to a few racist comments because there's nothing I can do, or I'm not told at all. And then I rock up to the agency on Monday and then they go, oh, don't worry about that wimpy job. We handled it over the weekend.
Wow. And you're
Now,
like, where?
You've lost your opportunity to participate. You've lost your opportunity to participate on a brief that could have made your career a little bit better. You could have worked on some TV. You could have worked on some interesting radio. No, don't worry about it. It was so much work. The client wants it really quickly. It was at my house.
Yeah. Wow.
That kind of racism is the stuff you can't report, right? Because that person can very easily say, no, the people that came to my house texted me out of their own. I didn't know I could text my ECD. I didn't know that. I don't feel like, he's not just Jim to me, He's
hello.
Mr. So-and-so.
I'm in the neighborhood.
I didn't know that was an option, right? And now I've been excluded from this thing, which could have been a career building opportunity. And it was deliberate, and I felt that it was deliberate. So there were so many little slivers along the continuum of racism in our industry that, I could feel, but a lot of the time could not express because it wasn't, some kind of like bold aggravation, like at the end of the continuum where they called me darky, that never happened. So
it was somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
It was like there, and I just didn't know that you could find the vocabulary to express the problem with what they are doing all the way here at the continuum. So why I think the management and excos of our companies need to be transformed is so that Nkgabiseng can be on the exco and say, but you can't have reviews at your house. They live in Soweto. Do you expect them to come to Houghton, be in your house, be comfortable? You're not going to get much out of them. Have the review lie at the agency on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that person might not be doing it out of malice. It just does not occur to them that that's an issue.
That's just the way they get it down. That's very interesting. And I think for me, that's kind of like the most dangerous type of racism. The racism that is kind of like in the middle. I'd rather be to 100 where I'm called the K word. At least we can deal with it because it's aggressive, but that undertone. So, we took a decision not to complain about it. We took a decision as Avatar to just do because it's going to be there and we need to carry on. What would your advice be for a lot of people that are watching now that are experiencing that? How do you address it? How do you deal with it? How do you keep motivated through it? I mean, how did you deal with that? I mean, you find out that the wimpy breed is gone. I'm saying you find out that the
pay gaps, sometimes in the agency you would hear like someone on your level who's doing half the work you're doing, and you just like get a whiff of their salary, and you're like,
how?
And it's like hard to deal with. It's hard to confront. I think what happened with my career, and I can't say it was deliberate or up to any genius of my own, was that I focused my energy on getting the right kind of work out under my name, and then that gives you a little bit of time in the room to say one or two words. So I know Oprah said something to the effect of like, excellence is the best revenge. I don't completely agree with that sentiment, because it's frustrating and it's emotionally stifling, and it doesn't take into consideration your everyday life until you get to that place of excellence. But I think there is some truth in it. Like, putting your name on some things gives you a moment in the room to say one or two things that you need to say. So when I've made a few award-winning pieces of work for the agency, and I say, I don't think it's that much of a good idea for us to be reviewing work on weekends, because all of us want an equal chance at it. And if you're going to do that, can you please invite all of us? That becomes a conversation you can start to have. Because you've got some kind of, I guess, borrowed clout from producing
from the
work or work that pleases clients. So that's how it kind of just happened for me. There was no concerted effort from myself, because I always felt like I was too small to solve my own problem, in a way.
But I guess when you expect it, it doesn't surprise you, and it's something that I don't speak about publicly in any platform. But the award scene in this country, for me, when Avatar wins an award, it's a bonus, because I don't expect it. I remember last year we ran the biggest campaign in this country, and probably the most difficult campaign being the ANC election campaign. And I think we outdid ourselves. We managed to do a campaign that defended even Gauteng, and not getting recognition for that. I think it's also going back to why you are doing it. We had a client, they had to win an election, they had to win Gauteng, they had to win a very good majority. And for me, that was my reward. I remember there's an awards show even recently where the work was nominated at the one show in New York and wasn't locally. And I always found that very strange to say, okay, so we nominated in New York, but here in Joburg, we're not nominated by your awards show. And because also we didn't create the system, I kind of understand that, sometimes awards shows are put in a way where they know what it means if a Think wins an award. They know what it means when an Avatar. So when you enter in work and it's getting nominated in New York, but locally, you kind of expect it and you can move on, because it's not like it's our system in a way. Now, what do you think about awards show? You've judged them, you've won them. When it comes to the reception of Black-owned agencies and work from Black creatives in Black-owned agencies, there's a creative that came from one of the most award-winning creatives in this country, came to work for Avatar and said, I'm doing the same work at the same standard, but when I was in a global white-owned agency, I was winning these awards easier. Now it's almost like I need to even fight harder being here to win those awards. Same guys, same even level of work. What do you think of the local award scene? And again, I don't speak about it a lot, because, when you speak about it, those guys after the elections that cry foul when you just look like those guys. So for me, it's just to say, and then move on and do better and actually build for the next year, and not go on social media and do all these things, because you just sound disgruntled. And that's what I advised them. I said, don't sound disgruntled. Your work, we know your work. Your client is buying the work. The consumer, we can see the sales needle move. So an award is a bonus, but what you are delivering to client is the award. What do you think about the local award space?
That's the award, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting space. I've always felt like if we have a problem or if we have challenges with the local award space, that we should participate in the local award space. Because we can't make change from the outside, unless of course we create our own award space. But even for that to happen, there aren't enough of us out there yet, And that might be something that we can, start to talk about, like, who are these awards shows, being run by, and who are they serving? But for the meantime, the way that I've thought of, I guess, solving the problem of being excluded is participating. So I want to understand what happens in the judging room. Why is the work not turning over? Why are we not featured in these places? I want to hear the conversations. I want to hear when they say something won on merit. I want to hear exactly the criteria.
What is the merit?
So that I can know, like, what is it that's missing from our work, or is it a voice that's missing from our work? And if it's a voice, then I can influence the work in that moment. I can say, no, I get it. It's powerful for me. And then the other thing I can do is I can bring more people that are diverse and from different backgrounds into the spaces when I'm asked to nominate judges for the next level of awards, so that we're not a minority in a country where we're a majority. So ultimately, the goal is to make the space reflective of who we are, so that the work that comes out at the other end of it feels right. Because there is like a bit of a discrepancy between the work that is being enjoyed and revered by consumers, and work that is being awarded, and, as you say, work that is being awarded abroad. So I think the way that we can resolve that issue is to participate, whether we're participating in the existing structures or we're creating structures that will aid that participation. But when your voice is heard, the results can be different. So I mean, at the moment, I think the local awards scene could do with a lot more transformation. So being the only Black Watwat in any room is not good enough anymore. So anytime either of us are in a space, it's our responsibility to go, next year, there's going to be 4 of us, right? This is going to be my contribution. So we can stop having these conversations where we feel aggrieved and not really welcome. Yeah.
I think that's a powerful thing, and I guess it's to be constructive around the space and to be able to influence the transformation. And once you're in, to nominate others to come in and be with you. Now we talk about creativity and awards. What is good work? I mean, you are the CCO of a company. What do you look for when you're judging? I love that pick. When you are judging, I think it's the DNAD awards. When you talk about good work, what is that?
We're moving a little bit when it comes to our definition of good work. Because in the past, it kind of felt like work that mimics art, that's good work. As close as you can get to like a literary piece of writing, an artistic piece of art direction, that would be good work. But we have a greater challenge today because we are co-creating with consumers. So I think the first word that comes to my mind when we talk about good work is impact. And funny enough, that hasn't always been a word that's included when we talk about good creative work. In fact, the less people got it, it felt like, oh, this is highbrow. This is the good stuff. People don't all get it. Which for me, I feel is not very useful in our world today. I think work that can really impact, whether it's the market that you're trying to communicate with, whether it's society at large, whether it's the brand's bottom line, I think impact is at the center of what I deem to be work that's good. And how do we get there? I think we need to be a lot more authentic, a lot more tapped into what's happening for real in South Africa, not in fake South Africa, which we make up in advertising a lot of the time. What are the insights that are going to make a piece of work move somebody emotionally to the point of sharing? Because sharing is quite an emotional experience. So you see a piece of work, it really, really moves you, and you decide someone that you care about in your life has to see this thing as well. But we take it for granted
mm.
because it's so quick. It's just a button. But that's really what it is. That's what's happening in your mind. You go, wow, I'd like for the person that I care about to see and experience the thing that I've just experienced too. So if a piece of work can
Wow.
be so impactful that it drives me to share it with the next person, I think that's amazing. I hope you saw the Nike For Once Don't Do It
Yeah, yeah.
work that
It's
came out this
beautiful.
weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I am so jealous, except, you know, the only thing greater than my jealousy for not producing that piece of work is just my sheer passion for it. Um, I think
Admiration for it, yeah.
I was unable not to share that. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
unable not to share it. I was like, I looked at it and I was like, other people
This
have
is
to see
it.
this. I can't be the only one.
Mm.
So that for me is impact in a sense, you know, it made an impression on me in its content, you know, what they're talking about, but also it impacted me in such a way that I felt the need to bring someone else into the experience. So
To share
whether I'm
it.
sharing with people that follow me on Instagram or, you know, people that I talk to on WhatsApp, the point is
Mm.
it made a real impression on me. So I
Wow.
think that kind
Wow.
of work is good work. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And then
Yeah.
think, you guys have got a wonderful partnership, one of the few black female-owned agencies in the country, and even beyond that, just a kick-ass growing agency that I think represents the future of this industry. Where are you taking this thing?
Mm. Ah, to the top. um,
And where is that?
um, I think you know, when we think about building think into, you know, its best form, we want it to be the kind of agency that solves the problems that we experienced as young creatives coming into the agency or as
Yeah,
consumers in South Africa looking at advertising. So
yeah,
whether it solves the problem of belonging, that would be great.
yeah.
um, you know, a place that's large and substantial enough to bring in people and they don't feel like they have to be someone else. I had a chat with Mzamo from Google, Mzamo Masito.
Masito, yes.
Oh, that's great, right? Put that on a t-shirt, you know. Are you still there with me?
Its signal
Hello, guys, can you hear
is a
me?
bit bad. I can hear you. It just broke a bit, but you were making the point about your chat with Mzamo Masito. That's the last I heard. Yeah, I think there's a bit of connectivity issues, but brilliant points about creativity. Brilliant points
Ah, I
about
see that my connection is
transformation.
acting up.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
but I think it's better now. You're making that point about Mzamo Masito's conversation.
Oof, so terrible. It's been so good thus far.
Yeah, I think it's better now. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I was saying, rather than someone to just fit it, so that we keep building the same of ourselves. And I thought
Mm,
that was interesting from a perspective of building an agency where various people can belong and feel like they're able to be themselves, because it does come out in the work um, at the end of the
mm,
day. And then also solving the
mm,
problem of not being able to see any black female owned and run companies in the space. So um,
mm,
I mean, there was Mona Lisa. That's the only person I remember just instinctively knowing from Riverbed about that ran an agency. And that's pitiful because, you know, black women make up the majority of consumers of various products. And
mm.
to know that those voices are not represented from a corporate perspective was really off putting. we could also
Mm,
solve the
mm.
problem of
Oh, no, I wonder if guys, you can still hear Nkgabi. The, the,
various people
the,
feel seen and
yeah,
remunerated accordingly. So that
yeah.
for me, like, is super important. And I think, yeah, this is terrible.
It's going so well, and it's just a bit of connectivity issues. Can you still hear me, Nkgabi?
I can hear you. Let me just leave and then join. I'll come back. I'll come back.
I think I wonder if you can come back. We've got like about 10 minutes. Yeah, she's going to join and try come back. Beautiful conversation, especially around sticking through the purpose of um, your journey, not being deterred. And please, okay, how do you do this? Okay, Nkgabi is coming back on. Beautiful conversation that we're having here. Please do ask questions. We've got a few more minutes.
Hello? I'm
Hi,
sorry.
hi.
Hi. Okay, good.
I
I'm
think it's
glad I'm
better now.
back.
Much better.
Yeah. Hopefully I can spend the last, what is it, 8 minutes
Yeah.
wrapping this up nicely.
Great, great. So you were talking about the access, especially for Black females, setting up an agency that reflects what is needed, uh, both from a consumer need. I think that's a beautiful thing. Now, you've just recently won a big client. How was that? The DSTV win is amazing. Is it Mzansi Magic?
Oh, this connection.
Can you still hear me, Nkgabi? Yeah, our connection is letting us down as well.
I'm so
But
sorry. We're
Nkanyezi is
so close to
asking,
the end.
yeah, it's almost there. But here's a big question by Nkanyezi. Would you sell to WPP or any other agency group? When someone comes and wants to buy, think um, uh, uh, what people don't know, and what I'll confess here is that we've tried buying into Think, and they've said no, they are not ready. So maybe I know the answer because it's been told to me. But would you sell to a WPP?
I think if the circumstances are right and the company
Yeah,
buying is right. So
yeah,
for us, what really matters is partnership. And I've watched a lot of female entrepreneurs in their journey around how they end up selling. So an example I can make, which I really thought was marvelous, is Jo Malone. So, she built that company. I don't know if obviously you're familiar because you buy gifts all the
yeah.
time, Veli. um,
Obvious.
but the thing that she was looking for, and she sold to Elizabeth Arden, which is another female-owned company. She was looking
Yeah,
for a partnership in which they would take the vision that she had started and take it to a place that she couldn't, but in exactly the same shape.
yeah.
So that was important for her, and she found that in Elizabeth Arden, which is why it was such a successful exit,
Mm.
and an amazing story. I would look definitely for something like that.
So partnerships like that, that
Yeah, singular
basically,
purpose, but with
yeah.
higher scaling power.
Yeah, no, beautiful, beautiful. And what are you most proud of with what you've built, what you guys have built to think? What are you most proud of? When you look back, what is that proud moment?
Sure, I've had a few. I think we've been very fortunate. But I think the thing I'm proudest of is the fact that we actually exist, like as a company. Um,
Yeah.
we have employees, we have clients, we have a fantastic supplier relationships, and we still have a good relationship as the founders. So
Yeah.
seeing the thing that we envisioned coming to shape and like growing each year, it really feels like we're running a different business every year. But just being a part of that process feels like such a privilege because um, I think you know sometimes when you're like at that place where you're dreaming about the thing that you want, it can
Yeah.
feel so much larger than you. But seeing every day as a step in building it, and like it, you know, it makes you believe. It reignites your belief in the original dream. So like getting a new client, having an amazing piece of output with a supplier, all of that is like, yes, you are right. Yes, you are right, and that for
Mm.
me super proud.
Wow, wow. And future we were talking about your win at DSTV. Maybe what did you win, and how's that going? How's that relationship going? I know you had a big win recently. Would you like to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, just quickly, we won some business from Zanti Magic and DSTV Compact. And for us, it's a dream come true because that's the kind of content you grow up watching. The kind of the women that are displayed in these channels are the women that you grew up with. So it kind of
Yeah.
feels like we're getting to represent a channel that speaks so resonantly to people like me. It
Mm,
really is a tick against the concept of can Black women represent Black women to themselves in advertising as well as they are doing in Mzansi Magic's content. And if the answer is yes,
mm,
then that's fantastic. You know, it gives us confidence in the rest of our agency. You know, following the same arc of wanting to talk to other Black women who are consumers, the majority of voters in the country as well, um, with a voice that they can relate to.
And what is your dream client? I mean, when you say think
Oh,
wins this client,
wow.
what would that be?
Geez, I have
If
so
I had
many.
like this
I'm gonna
magic
just.
wand just to grant it now, like boom.
Oh, wow. I'll say a few. Okay. Tesla,
Yep,
very good case
lovely.
because women in automotive, women in technology, representing that space. I think someone like Google would be nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Just putting that out there as well. Um, Geez, I mean, there's so many. Like, it's hard to say.
yeah.
I mean, it would be fantastic to
So,
be the lead
so
agency, for example, for O.
yeah.
So, Oprah Winfrey Network.
Wow.
Tick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
There are a
that
lot.
will result in some great work as well. Well, I've
Thank you.
been looking at your guys' journey for a long time, and we're really, really proud of what you guys are adding to the industry. We need more things. We need more Nkgabis.
We
In the last
do.
20
We do.
seconds, yeah, in the last 20 seconds, well, now 16 seconds, just a parting shot. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Khabi is going to take it away and take the show home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining. If you're a Black woman and you're